Hello and welcome into Looking Up with Laird here on Sorare TV. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined as always by Sam Tighe, Harry Trades. Today to add 4 more names to our Looking Up with Laird Sorare Data watch list. Gentlemen, we are at 298 followers on the watch list. By far the most of any watch list on Sorare Data. But also 298, you're like, man, we should get to 300. So if you are watching this and not subscribed to the watch list, the link is in the description. Go get it because, I don't know, round numbers are fun.
If you're the 300th person, Laird will give you a free Sorare Data star subscription.
Wow. I don't know how we prove you're the 300th, but yeah, just I'm sure we can give that away. No problem. No problem at all. Speaking of the watch list, here it is. We added 4 names last week, obviously, with some... we didn't see the Kyle Walker-Peters bump from these other players. And then Kyle Walker-Peters then promptly had one of his worst games in a while. To be honest, I'm thrilled, not because it looks bad for us. Obviously, that's not the case. But price goes down a little bit, and then we've got a nice run of fixtures coming up shortly. Yeah. Not yet, but shortly.
Yeah, not yet. Ipswich at home is very difficult in the midweek. But I think this was, it obviously wasn't a great score. It was nice to be sort of proved right to a point where they conceded 4 goals, and he still came out with a plus 35 score, as in he was above 35. Like somehow, despite taking that minus 16, isn't it? Yeah. Minus 16 with the 4 goals conceded, he was okay. So it does kind of prove the point that like he's a little bit bulletproof somehow. I don't know what he's doing. Was it more duels?
I will also just note that he was 1 tackle or 1 interception away from a double-double and 1 of each away from a triple-double. Like he was still very close from like another very decent score. And like you said, in a 4-0 loss at home, or excuse me, 4-1 loss at home.
Yep.
Saints have some work to do. Anyway, let's add 4. Sam, since you were the Kyle Walker-Peters pumper, let's start with you this week. A weird phrase.
I don't know about that. Oh, it sounds very strange. All right, let's move very swiftly on. I'm going to go for Pedro Neto of Wolves this week because he is back, and it is good to see. He's a fantastic player to watch, and it was quite excruciating, really, to watch the really tough sort of 12 months or so he had. He basically tore his ACL, I think. Missed most of last season, came back. Obviously, it's a bit of a slow grind to get back to where you need to be. If you look at the 6-month scale on the pricing, and particularly, presumably it will show up in limited. Yeah, so there's a summer spike where he's obviously named in the European Under-21 Championship squad, and that's covered. And there's obviously big expectation there. He goes and plays for Portugal. His scores were okay, and I think that was a really nice like foundation block for him to come into this season and really basically set the world alight again. I mean, not bad there. 4 games for Portugal. Pretty serviceable, really, actually. Great for the fact that he has a forward card, so the floor feels pretty high on him. Obviously, he's a player that, as I'll get to in a moment, is he takes risks with the ball. And when you can get that nerfed off with a forward card where it's just a 0.1 for a possession loss, that sort of thing, like that's really nice. Obviously comes into the season now with Wolves. They're under a bit of a cloud. They're not brilliant. They don't score a ton of goals, but apparently every goal they do score is assisted by Pedro Neto, who has 4 decisives already this term, 4 assists. I mean, if Mateus Cunha could finish his own dinner, that might be 8. He does play with some ropey forwards at times, but he still gets it done. I was doing some research for another piece of work this week, and Neto showed up in some really interesting metrics. He's top 5 in the league for attacking take-ons, progressive carries, and carries into the penalty area. So from one perspective, there's no wonder he's on 4 assists already. They just give him the ball and he just goes. When he loses it, it gets nerfed, so you don't get too hit hard on the score. But he is moving the ball into the box consistently, which is obviously a penalty area entry. He is taking players on. That's potentially a 1 duel. Might be an attacking contest. Still don't know what the hell that is. But with it being in a forward card, his scores are starting to soar. Now, if he's fit and he's good, I don't really see a reason why this would taper off, because I think this is a set of circumstances with it being a forward card that's just very repeatable.
I feel like he's way underpriced.
Yeah, agreed.
What am I
mean, obviously, we've had a little bit of a surge. Clearly, like people have woken up to it, but it's still a little on the low side for what is apparently a guy who knocks out 60s.
And
are we getting deja vu of Dwight eligibility
all year?
Sorry, say again, Harry.
I was saying, are we getting deja vu of Dwight McNeil of last season?
Well, so Neto is taking corners, and that is...
So was Dwight.
Yeah. He might still again.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, Neto's taking corners. I don't think he's taking free kicks. They've had too many, but he's taking, I think he's taken 14 corners this season as well. So yeah, he's on some of the set pieces. Like I do just look at it and think, wow, I sometimes you see a card and you're like, well, you don't fit my gallery and you don't fit my strategy whatsoever, but I might just buy you anyway. And I'm really like, I felt like this yesterday when I was looking at Neto.
I love him. I think he's class.
So, Harry, where were you on this? This is a honestly, forward. But why are we letting Sam take this one?
I think he started his research earlier than I did prior to the video. But no, I genuinely thought we'd done. Honestly, when Sam mentioned his name, I thought we'd mentioned him before, but obviously not. He's obviously been injured for a while. No, honestly, I love him. I think he's great. I think he ticks so many boxes. I think the only thing, like you said, he looks underpriced. It's probably because he plays for Wolves. Like I think we just disregard any player that doesn't play for a top 6 club in the Premier League, especially like an under 23 forward. It's quite hard to get behind them. And Buemo for Brentford's been great, under 23 forward. Like I think we just kind of disregard them a little bit. But the fact that he set pieces, forward card, still under 23 for another year or so. Again, maybe people think injury worries. He was out for a long time. Does that creep back in? That's something that maybe goes against him. But yeah, as far as price goes and stuff, we still haven't really seen the full sort of increase, I guess, because he's producing some serious scores.
Yeah, I just feel like so much of the talk was how there are just not that many reliable U23 forwards, right? Obviously, Haaland is there, who's one of his similar players to Neto score-wise. But, I mean, you just look at this list and how many do you look at this list and you're like, he is absolutely better than Pedro Neto, and I would rather, like, yes, there are a couple, but...
Yeah, not many though.
Buemo, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a great call. There's Pedro at 20. I think that's a gem. I really like that one, Sam.
Yeah, maybe. And just a lovely player to watch as well. Obviously, we buy our players and then we make an effort to tune in and watch them. Well, most of us do, maybe not Laird, but most of us try to watch them as much as possible. And Neto is a lovely player to watch. He's a really two-footed player. He's probably one of the most two-footed players I've ever seen play. Close to the Santi Cazorla like mythical status of which foot are you? Same applies to Ousmane Dembele as well at PSG. And he's an amazing dribbler and he's absolutely fearless. He's just brilliant. Absolutely amazing to watch. So Wolves aren't great to watch, but he is. So if you buy him and then you watch him, you'll just enjoy it too.
I love all of it. And like I said, I think that was a classic Harry Trades pick. And so, Harry, I'm fully expecting you to give us some sort of left back from Granada.
It's got to be a 38-year-old.
Now, this pick is actually quite left field in a weird way. I don't normally tend to pick goalkeepers, but I've gone for an under 23 goalkeeper.
First one ever for Harry.
Could be my first one ever.
It's your first goalkeeper for sure. Got it.
Sure.
100%. And we are going to the Spanish second division. And we're going to look at Pablo Campos. He's P. Campos on Sorare data for some reason. Yeah, there he is. So I came across this man. Yeah, we can call him a man. 21 years old. Well, I mean, 21 years old.
I'm old enough to call him a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. He's actually on loan from Levante, as you can see in the kit. He is not in an Amorbieta. Sam, have I?
Amorbieta, sure, yeah, I think so.
That's fine.
Yeah.
He's on loan from Levante, who are actually in the second Spanish division as well. And he was allowed to play against them, which I thought was quite crazy earlier on in the season. But I came across him as part of my Road to Glory series that I'm doing. And I managed to pick him up quite a few games ago. I think it was after the first game of the season, actually. So they might have played, they played Levante in the first game, which is kind of ironic that he's, on loan from there. And he's, when he first, because obviously, new season, everyone's a bit like, rabbit in headlights, who's the under 23 goalkeepers we need to look out for? And this guy just started the first game out of nowhere and was a bit like, well, he has cards. Is he going to be number one? And, I sort of took the gamble after that first game. He didn't get a clean sheet, but, took the gamble. I think I paid like £15 for him. He's only up to he's not even doubled. I think he's $30, whatever that is in pounds. And, the kid's scoring really, really well. And we all know that the Spanish second division just play through every single, international competition there is. But I will say that is actually a detriment to Campos because he is the under 21 Spanish keeper right now. So he played both games in this most recent international break. So he didn't actually benefit, utility-wise from that. And obviously that's why he didn't play against that racing or in that racing game. But again, just like a super, I think under 23 forwards outside of the top 5 leagues and obviously, challenger, I guess, kind of get disregarded a little bit. There's not that many of them. And he falls into that category where for the price he's at, especially in limited, I'm not sure how many rare cards he has. So that might, supply-wise, mess up his sort of price graph in that way. But obviously there's been an increase in, in the graph sort of his peak. But I still think he's a very reasonable priced limited under 23 goalkeeper for what he's producing. And that's kind of why he's made the cut today because, there's not many that I can really say that about goalkeepers. I did have Nicholas Hadel in my Road to Glory. He was like £50, I think I paid for him. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sell out of him. I don't need a Nicholas Hadel. I'm going to stick with my man Campos. And score-wise, he's matched him, if not sort of bettered him in that way. So I'm pretty happy with, going for him.
So I think the price graph would not worry people, but maybe push some people off because they're like, I'm too late. But I think you could make the argument that it doesn't matter. Well, obviously the past prices don't matter. He was priced as if he was some backup at Levante, there's he was understandably that price. And when you become a starter, and this is true with any goalkeeper, this isn't just a U23 situation. You see these spikes. I think you could even argue that the spike's not high enough because he's U23. And
for 3 years.
And he was third choice at Levante as well. He wasn't even second. They sold their first choice to, I want to say Rayo. It was Cardenas. And then they've given Feminillas the starting job. So this guy couldn't even he was third choice and then he became second choice and clearly he wanted to play. So he's gone out. So he was nowhere near the equation at all, which is why he was that low, I would say.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I didn't notice he's U23 until 2026. Obviously, with being on loan, who knows what happens next season? But it's also September 19th. And so there's plenty of time. It's not like you're losing utility anytime soon. And I think you're right, Harry. People just, you explained it. He's under 23 and he's starting. Sometimes that's literally just enough.
It's £25 for that. I'm seeing it in pounds on my screen. £25 3-day average. That seems cheap. I don't know what the next most expensive under 23 starting goalkeeper is. Off the top of my head, I know we could probably get that up. I don't know whether it's worth it, but I don't know how cheap it goes, if that makes sense. I know a lot of them are flying around 40 plus, I would say, roughly.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head there, immediately, I just looked at Yahia Fofana, who's the Angers goalkeeper, so second tier. He's 40.
Got you.
For a limited. So he's what, 25% more expensive? Well, yeah,
roughly
20%. Yeah. Looks like a cheap one. My friend Garrett, shouts out Garrett. He is a Levante collector, and he has one of those Campos cards. Again, a third choice keeper is one that you pick up simply on a very cheap level to boost your XP. And he began the season and he turned around to me and went, "Oh, I appear to have an under-23 starting goalkeeper," and he had no clue until that first game rolled around. So I have seen Campos's face before, but because my friend was like, "Ha, what? Where's this come from?" A total surprise.
The beauties of the collection game coming through right there. Yep. All right. Love it. Moving on. Who we got next, Sam?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay second division. I'm gonna go to France. I've got Mathieu Cafaro at Saint-Etienne. He is a player that signed permanently for Saint-Etienne in the summer after a little loan, I think, from Standard Liège. He and Niels Nkunku, who has earned my wrath this summer, they both had their clauses activated, and I distinctly remember a little video that they recorded together just before the last game of the season. It was a little selfie video. It was really, "Oh, look, we're going to stay. We're staying. We signed no contracts. We're really happy." Little did we know that deep inside, Niels Nkunku was burning with a fire of hatred, and then spent the rest of the summer engineering a move away, which he did achieve. He ended up going to Eintracht Frankfurt on deadline day, which ruined a lot of my gallery planning. I should have just bought this guy instead, because at least he had the decency to stay after having his deal activated fully. He signed a contract. He's sticking around. He's a very good player. He just had a little injury, but he's just recovered from it. Played at the weekend. Saint-Etienne are a crazy, crazy club, and they did this thing that really winds me up. They go ahead and they lose or draw all the easy games at home to start the season, and then they go and beat Caen away from home, who are top of the league.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying, because you obviously don't put your Saint-Etienne players in your priority lineups when they're away to top of the league. But Cafaro scored really well. And generally, if you look at his last, 15 games, he's another pretty high floor player. He can play right wing back or right wing, or a little bit inside maybe. He's definitely the club's best right wing back. And it is they do like a back three with wing backs. He clearly impresses there, and he scores really well there as well. And again, it's kind of in the similar vein as Pedro Neto. If you just look at the L5, you look at the L15, you look at the floor on the card, I'm not sure why he's this cheap. Like, it's screaming out to me. Part of the show is what seems like good value for money, and I think he looks like extreme value for money, to be honest with you.
Do you think it's just like an overarching fear of second division players?
Maybe it's an overarching fear of the crackpot club Saint-Etienne, which I really wouldn't argue with anybody there. Like, it's a crazy, crazy place. But yeah, I'm really not sure. Maybe it was the fact that he was on loan, a bit of uncertainty. Maybe people missed the permanent transfer. I don't know. But when he plays, he more often than not scores above 60 in the last 15 games. Happens quite a lot. And don't think the price. I mean, what's going on there? What happened there? Did he join?
Maybe that's when he joined.
Yeah,
it's got August 3rd-ish.
Yeah, might be that. But anyway, it's done almost nothing but come down since, and he's scored really well to start the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that it looks like he doesn't play all the time.
Mm.
And I'm sure there's perfectly good explanations for all of these. Yeah. But I feel like injury, enough people he doesn't play all the time, so I just won't buy him.
Suppose if you've never seen the player before and you're not familiar with them, you look at the graph and you kind of look for any reason to discount that. I mean, I'm doing the same thing right now, trying to find like super rare threshold players. Like, I look at someone I've never seen play, and unless the graph is perfect, I basically just close the tab. So maybe that is it. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Harry Fedo scooped a super rare of Cafaro very recently.
Of course he did.
Smart kid. You can see him in the column there.
Where's he too? Yeah. I see 361. Yeah. 1 of 10.
Smart kid, our Fedo.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Just there's always going to be a place for a player that can score consistently like this, and so it is nice that those A's. Because he have any set pieces?
I think he did take some corners last season. I'm not sure what he's done this season.
Pretty much a couple. It looks like it just seemed that his AA seems too good to not have them, but apparently he doesn't have that many of them.
On a side note, by the way, just go back to that page with the set piece takers. There's this Florian Tardo guy that's just this guy. He has one card, and it's a rare.
Yeah,
is one card. He just took a penalty. He scored really well in the first game he played in AA. I can't be the only one that's ever looked at him. I mean, it's just like, great. Here's one card.
Acquired, long ago.
Because things are looking up for him, but what is the point in talking about that?
Go out and get that rare unique right there. Yeah, I don't know if we will get new cards this year or not, but surely if we do, then this guy will start to get cards again.
On a show coming soon, maybe. Do you think they'll re-up the French and Spanish second divisions?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Like, it seems my thought process on it is simply, if you didn't expect to do this continuously, then they wouldn't have had like a full second division Europe competition. Because there are a lot of cards out there now, and to not renew and have rewards would be poor, I think.
That's very true. Yeah, it's the reward pool that's the problem there, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Trades, you want to finish us off today?
Yeah, we're going to the English Championship, and we're going to have a little look at Georginio Rutter, French under 21, or it could be actually 21 on the dot right now. Yeah, he is 21 years old, born 2002. And yeah, seemed to have found some form in the English Championship. Was scared to play against my hometown club, Cardiff City, first game of the season.
Oh, he saw you on the way in and turned right round.
It was even at home for them as well. I thought he would have made it, but clearly not. But yeah, a player that was bought for I think it was 18 million from Hoffenheim. It was some real big money.
It was more than that, mate. But
was it? No, 28 million. Sorry,
it was it was like a lot. It was a hell of a lot.
28 million euros.
It was terrible stuff. Like, this is not to criticize the pick because it's a good pick, but this is a classic example of a club not quite understanding what the situation they're in. They spent in January, they are fighting relegation, and they spent 28 million euros on a striker who was nowhere near ready to play for them immediately. So do you guys not understand where you are right now? And they ended up going down, and he was useless for the entire second half of the season because he couldn't get them out of trouble. A great beneficiary, but
I think we lost Sam.
Highly different to the reality.
Sorry, I think we lost you briefly there, Sam.
And didn't understand where they were. That's all. Anyway.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, we can definitely see that by obviously the graph there. Just wasn't sort of useful, I guess, for Leeds. But, coming in as a 20-year-old, from the Bundesliga, massive pressure, 28 million coming into the Premier League. And like Sam said, fighting relegation to where he wasn't that profile at that time in his sort of career, 20 years old. He was fresh into that Hoffenheim team over the, it's not as if he was like a week in, week out Bundesliga sort of player. Like, this kid was talented, but, hadn't really done too much starting in that sense. A lot of, substitute appearances, as you can, envision for a young kid, but somebody that has a skill set, I think, that's just far too good for the Championship in that sense. As a forward, I just think he's just too quick, powerful, and good in front of goal. We could say it is a good Leeds team in the Championship. We can't sort of say it is, and they have some real good players. They should see them fight for promotion, I think. And, they brought in Joe Pirro. They've got some like real good under 23 as well, even though he is 24, still has that year left. Some really interesting forward players. Somerville. Still got Willie Gnonto, which is just mental. Like that sort of front four is frightening, realistically. All under 23. But Ruta at the sort of peak of that seems to be benefiting, mostly from those decisives. And I don't know, I see those four, if they all, I know they're all going to share minutes in that sense, but like, midweeks, under 23 forward for the next 3 years, although, Leeds probably get promoted. I'd imagine if I had to stick my neck out and say whether that's automatic or not, who knows? But I think you're going to see some really, really nice scores from a player that's like, I think he's too good for the Championship in that sense. He's not too good for the Prem because we haven't seen enough of him in there. That's not the question here. The question is that I think in this Leeds team and how dominant they'll be in this league, I think he'll score incredibly well as an under 23 forward.
Would you rather have him for 3 years versus Neto for 1? Not to pit you guys against each other, but literally to pit you guys.
No, I like that. Neto in the Prem for a year or Ruta for 3 years.
It would be like Ruter with in the Championship for 1 and potentially.
Okay, and then whatever happens after that.
I think they're going up, Harry. I agree with you. They look like the possible Championship winners to me right now. Very early days, but they look good, and they've got the right manager in place too, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm going to stick my neck out and say Ruta just because of the longevity of the 3-yearness.
Well,
and that's
we'll revisit it.
From. Neto's a better player. Neto's a way better player, but I still think the Championship effect of Ruta could see him like peak very, very well. I don't think over like every game he's going to get like a better AA than Neto because he won't. He's not on set pieces in that sense. But I still think I would prefer Ruta. Cheaper, which is understandable. He's not as good of a card right now as Neto. But yeah, like Sam says, Leeds are probably them and Leicester, would you say? They have to be favourites, right?
Yeah, I mean, I watched Leicester against Southampton. I genuinely thought that both teams looked absolutely hapless. I know that sounds weird when one scored 4, but like they just look like two teams that are trying to play a style that they're literally just not good enough to play right now. I assume both get a lot better. Leicester are certainly ahead of Southampton. But I guess we'll have to see. I mean, Ipswich might have the best manager in the league, so I don't think it's a fluke that they're right at the top.
100%.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, we say it a lot with the Championship players, but you just can't underestimate the amount of utility you get from how many games they play. That you will almost always have a U23 forward available to you if you have this guy in your team. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those scores are nice. 21 AA. I mean, I assume it's mostly just attacking AA, shots or duels won. Actually, negative duels.
Interceptions.
Two big chances created. So, man, he could have easily had 100.
Can we round this off? Picking up on something that I said earlier, can someone tell me what an attacking contest is?
Like a one contest?
Yeah.
It happens at the same time as like a duel. Like if you like a duel one is a contest one.
Like if you probably like beat somebody like with a dribble, let's say, they could give you a duel one and a contest one for that.
Why would they give you the contest one or not? What's the difference? Is it like in the box or in the final third? Or
I don't know what the distinction is, honestly.
I think there's only one place to go for this, Sam.
I genuinely assumed you knew. Ned.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I don't know. This is one of them. Let's see here.
I've tried to go into this before, but like the names of things are a little bit different, so it's hard to actually like know what you're looking for, type of thing.
Right. Can you just Control F contest? Does that help?
It does not.
Nope.
PSU fans doesn't watch this, but he would be like, "Oh, just do this." I bet if it's a dribble, no, it's not a take on.
Duels, aerial challenge. No.
So for anyone who knows, feel free to leave a comment below what a one contest is and how it's different than a dual one. Because Opta's not willing to
we don't know. It'd be good. Like, we should definitely have a question of the week to end on. This is the question of the week. It may only be 1 week that we do it.
That's right. But so this week's question, what the hell is a one contest? And if you have a video evidence, that would be helpful. Just anything, like I said, leave a comment below to make us all smarter. And maybe we'll just follow up next week on what it actually is. And then that's going to be the stat that we talk about from now on. We'll be like, he doesn't have set pieces, but he wins a lot of contests. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining. If you could please like, subscribe, and comment below with the answer that we're looking for. Subscribe to the Sorare Data watch list as well to get us over 300, because it just makes us each feel good. And so thank you, gentlemen, for that. And we'll see you next week.